Sure, thank you. Senator Tillis from North Carolina is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just following up on Senator Menendez's comment, I think that we've seen far too many instances down in North Carolina when a homeowner is willing to accept a buyout, having no choice but to rebuild, only to be in the same position a year or two down the road. So I think quick resolution is something that we should focus on. Mr. Ellis and Mr. Lehman, if you look at a map of the East Coast of the United States, you know that North Carolina juts out there and is prone to hurricanes that can hit the Outer Banks or go down south to Emerald Isle. And we know too many hurricanes, even in my tenure as senator. The one question that I have, and I want to get to risk rating 2.0, and maybe you can just answer it. Do you think the risk rating 2.0 has that they're comprehensive in nature? One of the things I'm particularly concerned with in North Carolina, we all see the storm surge, and a lot of people may think it's over. But anybody that lives in North Carolina knows that about 2 or 3 days later, that's when we're going to get some of the worst flooding as the river basins drain out to the coast. So are the risk rating 2.0 considerations comprehensive? Do they take that into account, or do we need to do more on that moving forward? And that's for Mr. Ellis and Mr. Lehman.
Thank you, Senator Tillis. So certainly, and also in North Carolina, a lot of the concentrations on looking at the coast, but you have huge instances of riverine flooding and where storms have just parked themselves over there and repetitive losses in places like Lumberton or Princeville. So this is certainly a big issue. And yes, I do believe that risk rating 2.0, and it is something that is iterative and we're learning more about. I will point out that FEMA points out that almost 25% of the properties are going to see less premium under risk rating 2.0. But it is intended to be more forward-looking, to be more extensive than what we currently have. And certainly, your state of North Carolina, has been a leader in mapping and putting this information out there and making it publicly available for either future casting or even looking at real time with storms. And so I really salute the state of North Carolina and their efforts.
Right, I agree. North Carolina was an innovator in using LIDAR, which provides accurate three-dimensional picture of water flow, drainage, et cetera. And that is the direction that risk rating 2.0 takes. Risk is much more granular than the old school paper maps ever showed, and moving in a direction that looks at property level risk, which also can take account mitigation at the property level, is really important.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that. I was going to brag on North Carolina, but that was something that I worked on as Speaker of the House to make sure that we could see that the lack of information was causing what I thought were unreasonable outcomes and risk assessments. So I'm glad that you all recognize that investment that we've made has paid off. Could you go back and briefly, I think it's very important because I think a lot of people think that this is an across-the-board increase in flood insurance. Could either one or both of you maybe add to what the other one says? Mr. Lehman, we'll go with you first. Can you briefly summarize how these rates are going to be spread out across the insure base? It's my understanding that about 45% may experience a significant increase. Some will have a decrease, and some in the middle will have a moderate increase. Can you give me a little bit more flesh on the bones?
Sure, and I believe Steve has those specific figures in his testimony, so I might defer to him.
Okay, yeah. Mr. Ellis.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Senator Tillis. So yes, you're absolutely right. According to FEMA, that 4% will see an increase of more than 20% a month, but those are for high-value homes in high-risk areas. But 23% will see an average decrease of $86 a month, and 66% will see an increase of less than $10 a month, and another 7% an increase of less than $20 a month. And I'll also add that we're still talking about affordability issues as well. So it's not just, we still should have means tested assistance outside the rate structure. If people can't afford those premium changes, well, then we should certainly do it. Even if their premiums decrease, they may not be able to afford their premiums, and we should have means tested assistance in the appropriate areas.
Absolutely.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Tillis. The next two senators, and I may have to step out to do Finance Committee real quickly, is Senator Warren and then I believe Senator Kennedy, and perhaps after the two of them is Senator Van Hollen, but I don't know for sure. But